Hi folks, it's Bill. I have told you I was going to do the adaptation of the Zoom tube live, and I'm going to do that. You guys should know this is my first time through this. You guys are seeing it when I am. I will probably make a longer guide on how to do this adaptation, but I need something to show the kids this weekend at the Adaptathon, and given that it is Christmas time and people are asking for adapting this toy, I thought I'd make the video I could, and this is the video I can. So please judge me gently. I am in the workshop, as you can probably see, and I don't have good lighting, and I don't have my camera, and I can't bring it in here right now because everything is kind of in pieces. As you can see, we're making the parts for this weekend. If you are here, if you can see me, I can actually I can see your comments and stuff, so say hi. But I'm actually going to use the phone as my platform here today. I hate doing that, but it is what I have today. So let me set up and kind of show you what I can on this. So some lighting here. So inside of the Zoom tube, there's actually only two. There's a whole bunch of tubes, and then there are two parts that we care about. One is this, which is the little sled or the car that runs around through the tubes. And it's got an on-off switch and everything else. It's actually made so that it stays centered in the tube. It's very kind of well made. It's got a little motor. It's got a little LiPo battery inside of there. And there's nothing we have to do to this at all, except we do need to test, because before you do any adaptation, please make sure that your device works, because once you adapt it, you can't return it. So make sure this is turned on like that. It'll blink and be kind of flashy. The other part, and that needs to be charged, so charge this before you do the adaptation as well. This one actually takes batteries. This is the remote, and this is what we will be doing the adaptation on. It's got two AA batteries in there, and if you turn it on and hit these two buttons right here, you should see the wheels on that turn. Okay, so we've tested that. It works. We'll turn off the sled and set it aside. We're not going to touch that again, and we're going to get to work on this guy. Now, before I start showing you how to adapt in here, I guess I can walk through real quick what we're going to do. We're going to take these two buttons, and we're going to pull them out onto jacks that are actually going to sit right here on the top. So they will sit kind of right here. These are hanging jacks. They are standard hanging jacks. The only thing I have done so far to change them is, I'm going to use another set of hands here, is I've cut off the cable shield. That's just mainly for aesthetics. It fits better if I cut off this little piece right here, and you'll see why when we get to that part. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to actually drill a hole, in this case right here, for the wire to come out, and we're going to just run these to two little solder points on the back of this board right here. And that should let us activate those switches. So let me show you how to do this. I am using something a little bit different. So normally we use standard hookup wire. I am using Cat 5 cable, Cat 6 cable in this case, which is 4 pairs of twisted pairs here. The reason I'm doing this is kind of twofold. It's a little thinner than our standard hookup wire. It's stranded, so it's nice and flexible, and they're kind of already paired. So it's just going to make my life a little bit easier on the running of the wires. I've taken 2 pairs out of this, the blue and the green pair. I've already wired up a jack on the green pair because I don't want to waste your time on doing 2 of these. But I did think, I bet there are some people who've never seen us wire up jacks, so I'm going to do the blue pair here while you guys wait. So I'll do that first, and then we will come back and do the toy. So let me get my mount. This is a little bit crazy, by the way. This whole the approach I'm taking here is a little bit nutty. So let me see if I can do this. I normally use a magnifying glass, which is actually right here and is very tempting to me right now. But I am going to use your view as my magnifying glass, because otherwise you're not going to be able to see what I'm doing. But that might be a little tough for me. So let's see if we can do this. Okay. So that's what we want to focus on right there. Let's see if we'll do it. It might be too close. Well, we're going to do the best we can. Like I said, I will make a more proper guide about this. Let me see if I can get this a little lower so it'll focus. That's a little bit better. All right, so this is a standard hanging jack. It is a stereo jack, a TRS jack, tip, ring, and sleeve. We really want it wired in mono, but you generally can't find hanging jacks in mono. So we're going to solder this up in oh, it doesn't let me focus. Oh, it doesn't let me zoom. This is going to be very, very hard. Okay, we're gonna try and hope this works, because I am practically blind at this point in my life. So I've got solder and an iron. And I'm going to tin my tip, like always, wash it off. Hi, Mary Elizabeth. Glad you joined. And let's see if I can do this while you guys watch. We'll solder this guy in right here. Nope. I cannot do this while you guys watch. There we go. Okay. All right, so there's one. I'll get my flush cuts and cut that off. Mary Elizabeth, I hope you take this guide, and I hope you do this, because, man, lots of people want this particular toy. All right, so I've got my heat shrink tubing, which I didn't forget to put on. I have a lighter. I'll toast that. Now I got to do the other side. The other side is the hard one. So the reason the other one's hard is that it actually has to make 2 contact points. I am not entirely certain I can do this without magnification, so we'll find out. All right, so we are gonna, yeah, this should work. I hope this works. So we're gonna tack it to the right-hand side here first, and then we will tack it to the main track as well. So this is connecting this wire to both the ring and the sleeve of this jack. So let's do that. All right, I am spoiled. I'm very used to a magnification here. Okay, there's one. On the other one, we actually have to push this down a little bit so that it'll... Let me see if I can bend that over. It might make it easier on me. I don't usually do this, but I think it'll make it easier right now to bend this pin over on that. Hold it in place like that. And now we'll solder it, and then we'll trim it. All right. Get this nice and hot. All right. So that's not my prettiest soldering job, but given that I have no magnification, I'm going to take it. It certainly will work. I'm going to trim this here. Bend this guy around. Maybe not bother. Oh, I'd really like to get that to bend over, but I put so much solder in it that I'm not going to be able to. That's okay. That's all right. So we will twist this up. Mary Elizabeth, I don't know what it is you sent me a link to. My eyes are busy. If there are glasses or zoom in glasses, I have them, but there's no room to use them. All right, so I'm going to take the cover, which I cut the back off of right here. And put that on just like this. And let's take this off. All right, so got a little bit of hot glue on here. You'll see why in a little bit. All right. This is not, by the way, if you guys are looking at this and saying, oh, this looks hard, it's not. This is hard to do on camera. It is not hard to make a jack. We have other videos showing you how to do this as well. But at this point, I have 2 jacks, blue and green, that are ready to go. Okay? All right, so I have 2 jacks ready to go. Let's get on to the actual adaptation of this toy. Let's see. See if there's a way to show this without having that in there. Maybe. Maybe not. All right. So you're going to see this base no matter what I do. So that's life. Maybe like that's better. Okay. All right. So we need to get inside of this, and then we need to drill a hole. I'm going to make the assumption from now on that if this guy lights up, if that light lights up, that we're working. I'm not going to test it with the car anymore. That's what I'm going to be testing, okay? All right, so let's get started. We've got a screwdriver. And we're going to pull 4 screws out of here, maybe 5, I forget. I usually have a magnetic tin here. I don't know where mine is. Shannon, I'm pretty sure you can find somebody to help you do this. Anybody in your local robotics team can help you do this. All right, so I'm going to set this aside. I'll also use that as a tray to hold my screws. All right. So there's those 3, 4, 5 screws. I can pull out the batteries here as well at the same time. These are regular screws. Thank you to whoever makes this for using regular Phillips head screws. We love you when you don't use triangle screws and Torx screws and all that garbage. All right, so we're ready to go. We can pop this off. Now, I will tell you there are little things that will fall out like the switches. Don't worry, you're not going to break anything. I'll pry this open just like that. Oh, that was nice and easy. All right, so we've got this side has the little rocker that's going to push the buttons here, and it can just be set aside. We're not going to do anything with that at the moment, okay? On this side, you'll see we've got a very, very simple circuit board. It's got 2 of these tactile buttons, and this is forward and reverse, right? It's got an infrared LED. It's got connectors to the battery terminals. So probably the easiest way to go about this is to, we could probably actually solder to this side, here and here, and here and here. But we're not going to. We're going to do it on the back side. And let me I'm going to grab a multimeter just very quickly. I'll try and do this in a way that you guys can participate without seeing. So I need one that beeps. 1 second. I know, not my best video. I know. Nobody should be surprised by this. Here's a continuity tester that beeps. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not. It's very high. But there you go. Okay. So if I actually look at these 2 pins right here, one side is going to short and the other side will not. So these should short when pushed. Get them actually on here. Can't get to it. Okay, Mary Elizabeth says you can hear it. Let me get to it from the other side. Okay, so I'm going to use the screwdriver again. Pull this board off. That's a different size screw, so don't get it mixed in with the others. All right, so just 2 screws holding that one in. All right, so this should just lift out. Now when I lift this out, you'll see these little blue tabs are going to pop off. It's okay, we'll put them back in when we reassemble it. I'm going to set them aside. All right. So we've got, we can look on this side and see that I got a button here and a button here. Okay. So what I need to do is I need to find out which of these pins are connected when a button is pushed. Okay. So to do that, and I'll write up which ones they are, but I haven't, like I said, I just thought I'd do this live. To do that, I need to actually make sure this is working. It is. Hold this on two of the pins, like this one and this one. All right, so these are connected when I'm not pressing the button. So that's not the ones we want. So these two are probably the ones we want. So now when I press that button, yep. So these are the two pins that we want to actually connect. So this one and this one right here will give us the forward button. And then for the reverse button, let's test those as well. I'm pretty sure it's going to be, let's see. Let's see, this one and that one. No. I would think it would have to be. Oh, I see what I'm doing. Hold on. I was touching the ground pin there. There you go. So it's these two right here. Okay. Hi, Chad. How are you? I'd wave, but I don't have a free hand. So these two pads right here are the ones where when I'm pressing the button on the back, and when I do, they are connected. So interestingly, these two switches are oriented differently. So, and you could probably see that from the top. But just to be clear, these two right here are going to be our front contacts. And these two, this one and this one, sideways ones, are going to be our rear contacts. Okay? All right, so these two and these two. If I start connecting to anything of those other than those two, somebody yell at me, okay? Chad, you can yell at me. Mary Elizabeth, you can. Good as always. Order 2 Zoom tubes. Excellent, excellent, excellent. All right, so let's do this. And so what we're going to do is we're going to actually this is going to go back in like this, right? And the wire is going to be right there underneath, right here. So we don't want very much wire. We probably want maybe, I don't know, an inch and a half of wire. So we will cut that. So here's what I'm going to do. Just because of the camera, I'm probably going to cut it a little bit longer than I normally would. And if we have some extra wire, we'll just live with that, okay? So I'm going to cut these. We need a hole right here. So I'm going to drill one. And I'm going to do this off camera so I don't cut myself or screw up too badly. All right, so we have a hole, slightly off center, but a hole nonetheless. Ideally, I would clean this up a little bit better with a razor knife, but I don't think I have one handy. So I'll do what I can. Feel free to be as aesthetically pleasing as you would like, okay? Let me just clean this up a little bit. All right. Good enough. Good enough for me. All right. So we're going to run this wire in through the hole. This is going to live right here, right? So we're going to run this wire in through the hole. and then we are going to connect it to those 2 pins. Okay? And I will probably need to look again to see which 2 pins they are. I believe it's these 2 and those 2. There you go. They are. So this green one will be the reverse pins, and we're going to put them here and here. So I'm going to use a technique I call tack soldering. I'm not entirely sure if that's what it's called, but I'll show you how to do it. You take your wires, you strip them. And I know I shouldn't be using my fingernails to strip wires, but I do. So basically what you do is you put solder on the actual wires. Then you hold them in place, and you hold them up to the pin and solder them again. So I'll try to do this all on camera and not have you miss anything. All right. Still need my magnifier. Wow, I'm old. Chad, I'm so old. Didn't even realize it. Alright, so I'm going to put this on the wire. Just like that, and like this. Make sure you have plenty. Okay. So we have solder on the wires. Then I'm going to trim these down so that just the tips are there. Like that and like that. It's probably called tack soldering. It should be called tack soldering if it's not. Alright, so now I need to place this in just like this. And I'm going to use a helping hand tool here to hold this in place, hopefully where you can see it. Okay. Try and get you a little better light. So I'm just going to tack this one here, and I might use a pair of tweezers. I don't know if I'll need to. Let's just take a look. So I'll bring this in. I'll hold the soldering iron to it until it melts onto the existing solder. And then the real trick with this is just remove the soldering iron, but leave the wire in place until it cools. And so that's great. That's on there. That's not going anywhere. I can pull on that and it's good. And do the same thing with this one. Sometimes you actually, and I'm going to do it on this one to show you, sometimes it is helpful to actually add a bit of solder to the existing pad. Just makes it a little bit easier to conduct the heat. Make it melt a little bit better. Then you take your new wire, melt them together, hold it in place, let it cool. And so that guy right there should absolutely work. Okay? Now, I would normally test this, and I probably should. So let's go ahead and test this. Again, we're just going to test it by making sure that the LED lights up. So I need to put in my batteries. Grab a switch. Plug this in. And then you guys can't see the battery. So this is turned on. This should, yeah. So my switch is now activating that light. So we're going to claim victory on the rear button, the green button. Okay. Unplug that. Now we got to do the second one, the forward button. We can reuse the same hole. I'm just going to strip this. Anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. Alright, I'll stop using my fingernails here in a second because I'm breaking them. I know. Okay. Same basic approach. I'm going to put solder on these. And we'll tack solder them on there. Okay. All of you out there can totally do this. All right. I'll trim these down nice and small. I'm going to twist these a little more just to make it a little simpler. Run them in through the hole. Hope my phone doesn't run out of battery juice. That would suck. All right. All right, now this one has to go to these two pads right here. So to do that, I guess I'll do the closer one. I'll do the further one first. I could have used a little bit more wire here. Bummer. It'll reach, it's just going to be a little bit tight. Okay? My helping hand in place. So we'll hold it just like that. And all we've got to do is melt these together. Let it cool. Yeah, we should be just fine. We should be just fine, okay? We got the last one here. I would say that on a 1 to 10, this one difficulty level is a 6. Only really because of the tack soldering. The understanding is not that hard. Okay. That's a problem. Alright, so we have a small problem here. I managed to just melt through the... Yeah. So we have a small problem that I actually have to solve. You'll see that right here, these two wires just kind of melted together. So to fix that, it's not a huge deal, but it is going to cause a problem for us. So the reason it's going to cause a problem is that it I need to keep these two separate. So what I'm going to do is just going to add a dry. I would normally start with another wire, but I don't, or cut back a little bit, but I kind of can't because the wire is too short. So mental note, longer wires. It's not a big deal. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little piece of heat shrink tubing right here just to protect that where I cut it. Oops. Here, I might need some tweezers. Screw it. If you're doing that, use tweezers so you don't burn yourself. All right. Just trying to make sure I can get this out of the way so we don't have that problem again. Oops. I'll put just a touch of fresh solder on this pin. Make it a little bit easier. And melt that right there. All right. Oh! I just completely knocked it loose when I picked it up. Hold on. Alright, the size of this is probably going to make me revise it to a 7. Just because it's all very, very tight. Alright. Yeah. Keep knocking that loose. So let's cheat a little bit. Let's add a bunch more solder on here. You can't see what I'm doing. Just so all we really did right there was add a bunch more solder to make it easier to stick this to it. All right, that's good. That's good and solid. So is the other one. So let's test the blue one. Make sure it lights up. You guys can see that, I think. Here's my switch. Plug this into the blue one. And yeah, that lights up. It's great. All right, so Mary Elizabeth, I'm glad it's not just me. All right, so we're going to take this guy and we're going to put him back in. We are going to make sure that these wires feed through the hole on the bottom that we just made. Before we completely finish putting it back together, we do need to make sure of a couple things. We need to make sure that our holes are going to line up, and they are. That's all good. You see our wires are coming out the back. This guy needs his switch on. This is the on-off switch. So before we screw this in, let me get those pieces of plastic, put them back. I kind of melted this thing. So the only reason I melted it was because I had to add that piece of heat shrink tubing, which I really shouldn't have had to do if I'd been more careful. But looks like it's okay. And this guy. Alright, those fit in there correctly. This all goes down. Beautiful. Hopefully you guys could see what I did there. Now he's got to take these little tiny screws and put them back in place. I do not know if I can do these under the camera. They're just screws, okay? If I can't, you guys can figure out screws, right? Hello, Denise. Good to see you. I am trying to do these under the camera. I don't know how successful I am. Lord, I'm glad you're going to do this. This is totally doable. Everybody here can do this. And I'm going to make sure that this is pushed into that little hole for it out here. Everything else looks... Oh, well, my screw didn't go in the hole, so hold on. I am not aligned, so let me get aligned correctly. Here we go. Yeah, I am going to have to do this off camera. Oh, ha! That's funny. So the reason that I am failing here is I did the thing that I told you guys not to do. I said do not get the screws mixed up because the screws on the inside are much smaller than the screws on the outside. So now I have to undo that. So, all right, mental note. So listen to my own advice. So this is one of the screws for the outside, which I grabbed by mistake. I needed this little tiny one here, which goes on the inside. Really needs a smaller tip too, but let's see if we can do it. There we go. There we go. Of course I've stripped that, but I tightened. It's okay. All right, so that's all good. Let's put the back on. so. Everything still fits. That's lovely. We got our 4 screws. Anybody have any questions? Type them. You can totally do this, everybody. We are going to be doing this weekend at the Adaptathon. I bought 12 of these at Walmart. They're $28.88 a piece. Why do I still have a tiny one? Does it go here? Yep. There we go. No, that goes on the battery. Sorry. All right. I'm just going to put a couple of these screws in. I may not make you watch me put in all the screws, mainly because I keep failing on them. Keep putting them in the wrong place. So pay attention to where they come out of. They have 3 different size screws, and so far that has been the hardest thing about this. All right, so let me put in some of these big ones, and I will come back to the little ones. So the last thing on this, the last thing we have to do on this, actually, let me pop out that screw. Nuts. I have a whole sign on cursing in my presentation. This is why. All right. We got 4 more screws. And then put the cover on. This screw goes here. All right, and the last thing we have to do, we got to test everything, make sure we didn't break anything on the assembly. So we're gonna hot glue these facing forward like this, like that. But I don't think you guys need me to show you how to hot glue, right? I mean, I have it. I'll be doing it. But if I had more time, I would screw them. You do need to make sure that the wires don't make it impossible for you to change the batteries. But that should be doable. But let's just go ahead and test these. Here's my sled. We'll turn on the sled. So first thing is that the button should still work. And let's see. Oh, turn them on. There you go. All right. So forward and reverse still work. And now the switches in these jacks should work as well. So actually I have the same switch. So if I remember right, blue is forward. It's not unheard of for that to go on when it's a good sign if that goes on. But now this switch is forward, and this switch is reverse. So it's totally kind of done here. The only thing left is making these wires a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, to quote Sheldon. But all that really takes is a little bit of hot glue. We're going to wire these, turn this off, wire these up right here. And I'm going to go ahead and take some hot glue and tack these down just so I can call this one done. So I have some hot glue and I am not a hot glue fan. I like just about anything better than hot glue, but I think it is the perfect tool for this. This particular case, it's the right answer. So I hot glued that there. What's nice about it is that it cures very, very fast. It's not as good as E6000 or super glue, but it cures very fast. If you screw up, you can fix it. Right? There's lots of pros here. And I'll tell you what, just because we can, in this case, I'm going to also hot glue these wires down. That way they don't get pulled and they don't get, stuck anywhere. One good thing about hot glue, if you don't know it is an insulator, so it does actually act to protect that. So I think that's great. Let me make sure I can, yeah. So I can still be careful with the hot glue, make sure you can get the batteries out. But this is totally done. So we have an adapted zoom tube. Kind of cool. Probably took us, I don't know, half an hour, 20 minutes. I'm not sure. It took us less than 70% of our of my battery. So Mary Elizabeth, you are welcome to come on if you got any questions. You can't. Oh, I don't know why you can't, but it says I can't invite you in. I could ask Chad, but oh well. I think this is good enough. I think this is great. We've got the remote control still works, right? So if I turn this on, I can still use the existing one, and these two jacks will work as well. All right, I'll try to make a better video probably after Sunday, but this should give us enough to get started. And if you guys have any questions, type them below. I'll answer them later. Bye.